Okay, so you want to get into cigars, you're thinking about, I'm only going to be a, seasonal smoker, or, have one or two on hand. You know what? It quickly adds up. I was in the same boat years ago. Same thing. Always had cigars, always had, maybe 10 on hand and whatever. And I quickly found out that I was running out of room, running out of things to put it in, etc. So then I got one of these jammies. It worked well for the time being. I did calibrate this, but no, I never did use it as a 100% means of displaying and telling me how much humidity's in there. Like I said, I did calibrate it, and it was decent. It was pretty accurate within, 3 points, give or take, plus minus. But depending on what kind of humidification device you're using, it is entirely up to you. It is entirely subjective. I have an opinion of what I like to see in my humidor. You're going to have something maybe completely different. So, that being said, this is basically the steps that I took in the beginning till pretty much where I would be now. So, we're going to go through them. Like I said, I had this guy. It was great. Love the beveled glass. Nice, display your cigars. This is about a 25, possibly 30, if depending on how big your cigars are. Okay. Now, the hygrometer itself just pops out. You got your little slot in the back. You stick this guy in a Ziploc bag or a resealable bag with a cap from a pop bottle, or even a little plastic small container. Fill it with salt. Add a few drops of water, you don't want to basically have water moving around in there. You just want to saturate the salt, basically, okay? And that creates the humidity as it's locked in there. So the highest temperature, or the highest RH value that salt will deliver would be 75% RH. So from there, then you would move and rotate the gauge to 75% RH. Now, that does take time, etc. Because you're going to leave it there. I checked it every 4 hours. And I re-gauged it every 4 to see how accurate I can get it. So I put it in for 4 hours, checked it, gauged it, left it in there another 4 hours, gauged it again, and just for the heck of it, I left it overnight, gauged it in the morning to see where, or how to look at it to where it was at, and I was happy. So that's fine and dandy. It's got a little rubber gasket to help with the seal. Okay. They come with these little humidification devices. They are a one-way device. Okay. They have the foam in them. All right. You use a propylene glycol solution in them. The propylene glycol just basically helps to keep down the any mold. Okay. That's pretty much it. But these are, for the most cases, an unreliable solution. All right, they are great. Yes, they release humidity, no problem. And then that's pretty much it. But there's nothing controlling how much humidity is released. So unless you're constantly monitoring it and going over, making sure it has enough water, and it's a lot of maintenance. And to me, it's a lot of worry, because I don't want to end up going away on vacation or something like that and, filling this up with water, and I'm gone for a week, and then next thing I know, my humidor has been sitting, 75% RH. I got, and you don't want to have God forbid you get beetles, but mold too. The mold grows on the wood, it saturates the wood itself, and the mold spreads. So, and when that happens, it's a pain in the butt to get rid of if you can. So, like I said, so the Flores foam is okay for just starting off. You could even go to a Tupperware. Use a Tupperware. You don't necessarily have to buy a humidor. Get a large Tupperware. And throw a humidification device in there. Make sure you have a hygrometer and something that'll at least help give you the temperature. Temperature is important for these. Now, what I had done was I had removed the foam and replaced the inside with beads. They're great. They're in there. Okay, and I just take my distilled water, give it a spray. It's in a atomizer. Spray it down, let it sit, spray it down again, and when I see them start to come to the surface, okay, then I know I'm good, and I make sure nothing else leaks out. Throw it in there, good to go. But again, they are okay for a while. And the beads are, yes, they absorb moisture and water, but the thing is, though, is it takes a large amount of saturation for these to expand again. So by that time, you can bet your butt your cigars are ruined or oversaturated. But they're not. They are a step up, and they're not that bad. From there, I went to one of these guys, or a few of these guys. Boveda packs are great. They're worry-free, You put your cigars in there any way you see fit, throw it in there, close it up, done. They are set to a certain RH value that you don't have to worry about, because it's a two-way humidity control system. It absorbs moisture vapor and it releases moisture vapor. And with that, I can leave this for months at a time. Check in it, make sure, see how much saturation's left in it, and leave it. Close it up, leave it. Much better for aging, much better for storing purposes, okay? That's that. So, I had one of these guys to start off. Like I said, then you can go to a piece of Tupperware or whatever, if you want. Then, because that wasn't big enough, I went with one of these guys. Okay, 75, 85 count, depending on how big your cigars are. Again, it's got the hygrometer. I calibrate it, yes. Do I rely on it solely? No, I don't. Okay, it's got nice bevel glass. It's a great humidor. However, going back on it now, I kind of wish I didn't get any of them with glass. I would rather it be 100% solid. You don't want any light penetration in it. I keep this in a dark place. I don't want the UV rays getting at it, and changing temperature as well from any sunlight. So, yes, it's nice to look at. It's got a great gloss piano finish on it. However, I got to keep it in a more darker area where the temperature doesn't fluctuate enough or often, and light doesn't get to it. So open it up. Yeah, I had, this isn't a humidor tour, so, but, that's where this guy used to sit. And yeah, it was great for a while, but, I prefer using Boveda. Okay, that's what I use on all my humidors. I have a couple more. I even have a couple coolidors, full of cigars as well. Boxes that are sitting in my basement because it's nice and cool there. It keeps the temperature. So you just throw these on. That's it. They will not ruin any of your cigars in any way. They do not leak. There is no solution that leaks out of them. And that's it. I got them wedged in between others. I even have a couple pieces of cedar in there just to act as a buffer. I've got them layered underneath. So these are things that you deal with and want to look into, and see what kind of system you're willing to go with. So this one's pretty decent. It does seal fairly well. I did have to play a bit with the hinges and that just to make sure it closes all the way and I get a decent seal out of it. So, but again, I was running out of space. So, that being said, I have humidors, I have coolidors, and what's left? Okay, so we already talked about, starting off with cigars, little humidors, guys that fit 25 sticks, maybe 30, depending on the size, and up. I told you can use a piece of Tupperware or something like that with a humidification device and a hygrometer and thermometer in that as well. You can continuously upgrade to larger and larger humidors. So we saw some of my other ones. Now, this is basically what I've been using for the past little while too on a lot of my other stuff, especially for aging. It's great. This is a wine cooler that I use as a Wineador, so to speak. So basically it's just used for cigars versus wine. This one in particular, I actually, I've been looking at it for a while, and I didn't have enough stock at the time. Well, I wouldn't say enough stock. I had plenty of stock, actually. Just didn't have a real big desire to get one. Like, yeah, they're cool, they're great, but, converting and this and that, and I was pretty comfortable and content as to what my cigar situation was and storage and everything else. But I actually came across this. This is actually a used wine cooler. My family and I were out at one point on vacation, and I'm not sure how long ago that was now, but we actually stopped off at a flea market, and I saw this thing, and I wasn't looking for a wine cooler at the time, and it was just something that I came across. I saw the tag on it, and the guy wanted about, I think it was $60 or something like that at the time. So I left it, and we were away for a week or two. Anyway, so the flea market's only there for a few days. Anyway, so I thought, you know what, forget it. If I go back there and I see it, I'm going to pick it up. So sure enough, I go back, there it was. I didn't like, the price hadn't changed. So I, watching, the different shows and pickers and that. I've been in sales too, so I you kind of wheel and deal. And you don't want to take the guy for advantage of the guy or girl, but you know, you want to make sure you're getting a good deal regardless, right? So I added a few more things. Basically, after everything was said and done, you break it down. I think I paid $25, $30 for this thing. So, which is a good deal. But part of the deal was too is that we plug it in and try it. Sure enough, it worked fine. Watch the temperatures, change them, make sure they adjusted. No problem. It's nice and cool. It's pretty chill. So anyway, that story aside, this is what you get. Okay? And this one is particular a 3-rack, 4-bottle per rack. So it holds 12. And then you have some space a little bit on the bottom underneath. That can hold maybe another 2 bottles. You know, but that's not what we're using it for. You can go and you can purchase cedar racks, cedar trays, shelves, whatever for these things. And you can get, you know, all the way up to what, like a 38 bottle or something like that. But I knew this was going to do me for the time being. So I have another project on the go, and I have some cedar wood from that as well. So when I can get the chance to, I'm just going to make some, you know, shelves. I'm not doing drawers or anything like that, just plain shelves. But for now, you know, this guy works just fine. You know, you take your, take a few of these guys, throw them in there, you know, and it holds a fair amount. You want to make sure you keep that air passage, you know, free and clear. You know, throw a few on the bottom. Save some of your bigger ones for the bottom. Okay. Turn the boxes whichever way you want. Store them any way you want. Whatever way is going to fit for you. You know. I want to say the more you cram in there, for the most part. So, you know, you have better chances of maintaining humidity better if you have it fairly packed full of cigars, because those cigars are going to help maintain that humidity because of the moisture they already have absorbed. Okay, and your humidification device doesn't have to work as hard. So that being said, you know, you got her jammed full. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you know, 16 boxes in there. Plus, you know, I got a whole bunch of others. These are just what I had in there at the time. So you got your boxes. You got a temp gauge, okay? Normally I keep this around 17, 18 degrees Celsius, which gives me about 64 to 62 degrees roughly Fahrenheit. This thing actually does go as low as 11 degrees Celsius, which is like 51 degrees Fahrenheit. But, you know, I generally don't need to bring it that low. But it's good because it maintains the temperature. And when you maintain that temperature, you help maintain that humidity, okay? Now, the biggest thing is understanding the RH, okay? So your relative humidity, your RH, it's a fluctuation of saturation, okay? So what you have is you have saturation of water density, which means how much water or moisture vapor the area can hold at a given temperature. Okay, so as the temperature goes up, your humidity and your saturation level increases as well, which brings that relative humidity up. The lower the temperature, less saturation. Okay, think of it as the hotter it gets, the more molecules go, which creates heat and friction. Okay, so it's like as well. Maybe that's not a best example, but in the summertime and in the wintertime. Okay, wintertime temperatures are lower, air's a lot drier. Okay, in the summertime temperatures are a lot higher, therefore the air becomes more humid because vapor is released, water by bodies of water, etc. So now that you kind of sort of understand that, I hope you fully understand it, but there's a certain other aspect that we need to look at, and that is your dew point. So as your temperature increases, and with that temperature increase, you have your relative humidity saturation increase as well. Okay, so you have more water in the air. Now we have what we call the dew point, which is where that air and that area has the maximum amount of water vapor density that space and that air will allow. When it reaches 100%, that's when you get your dew point. That's when you reach your dew point. The dew point can be at any time and any temperature and any fluctuation because, again, like we said, at specific temperature. So when we have a unit that's being cooled at a specific temperature with an increased water density value, we now have another factor, which is the exterior air. Okay? So now when you have two different areas with a variance of degree, you get the air cooled on one side where it's hot on the other. They create that happy medium as to where that vapor sits, and that becomes the maximum saturation where that dew point occurs. So because of that, I had brought this up. I keep it in my basement. I brought it up. I normally wouldn't keep it near a window or any other source of heat or any other main living area where I know is going to have a controlled temperature a lot higher than what I need it. So that's how I get my dew point down and keep that down, so I do not get buildup of water vapor density and dew on my glass. Okay. Now, normally I keep this right up against the wall. So what I've done is I've actually put a piece of hose on the drain plug. That hose basically comes out the drain plug down, and I have it to a clip at the very back. Okay, you can't see it right now, but it's at the back. So what happens is the water drips down and it sits down and below in the, and then I just unclip it, use the hose, and drain it into a cup, discard it. That way I'm not fooling around with it, moving it around, pulling it out from the wall. I just reach around, grab the hose, dump it, done. Clip it back in, no problem. Maybe something you want to think about doing. If not, whatever works for you. So we have our Wineador, we have our cigars, we have a set temperature that we want it at. We need humidification. So you can go with a so once again, you can go with a one-way humidification system. I don't suggest it. If it's all you have for the meantime, no problem. That's cool. I don't like to use the sponges, plain and simple. But that's one way. Okay, another way is to get yourself one of these cigar Oasis jammies. Again, they use a sponge. Where would I put it? Again, they use a massive floral sponge inside. You just, again, add your propylene glycol solution, and off you go. These are great. There's a bunch of other functions too. You can see what the previous or your highest temperature was, or your highest level of humidity and your lowest level of humidity. It's pretty decent, pretty accurate. I find it actually, you know, tends to go on a lot longer than what I would like it. But nonetheless, it is great. I do like it. I do use it, and I enjoy it. So it is great. It does disperse humidity. It has a pretty decent reservoir. Okay, it did have the florist foam in it. I dug the florist foam out, cleaned it out, and put the humidity beads in there. Okay. Just use these guys. What I did though first is I put these into a container, soaked them in some water, then when they expanded to a size that I was comfortable with, then I filled them up. Okay? Because you don't want to basically fill this whole thing up with beads and then saturate it with water. Well, then you're just going to have beads coming out. So that's what I recommend anyway. That's what I've done. And, you know, it's great. You just take, you know, bottled distilled water and just, you know, give it a spray, let it sit. Voila, it's dispersing your humidity. Okay. Like I said, they are good. They come with a ribbon cable, you know, which is kind of nice. So just put it in there, close it up. It's doing its job done. Okay. I do have a temperature or thermometer and hygrometer. This one is a Mio. It gives me the basically a lot of the readouts that the Cigar Oasis does as well. Okay. I can light it up too with a single touch. It's decent. I do like it. It keeps the time. Like any of them, you do have to calibrate them, or should calibrate them. It gives me my temperature, and it gives me my humidity. So that guy I just stick in there, check it out. That being said, this little guy works well, but it is a one-way system. Okay, now you heard me talk about Boveda. Okay, these are just the 8 gram. All right, little packs. Put these inside your cigar box. Lay them right on top of your cigars, or on the cedar sheet, whatever. Throw them in there. You could put one per. It's not going to hurt anything. Okay, they are set for a specific RH. Okay, and that's the beauty part about it, is the fact that it will not make a mess. It will not damage your cigars in any way when it becomes in contact with them, and it's no worry, plain and simple. They are not paying me for this. I do not get paid by them to tell you this stuff, but from my experience and what I've used over the years, I may be new to this channel or new to YouTube, but just because I'm new to the channel doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I haven't smoked a cigar, and you know, that's what often a lot of people confuse, is the fact that it may be a new show or a new channel on YouTube. So the guy's a newbie and doesn't know what he's talking about. Fine, if that's your way of thinking, whatever. Okay? Embrace your newbieism yourselves, and why don't you, in that case, embrace the information that that new channel is providing you. Maybe something you never thought of before. Regardless. Anyway, besides the point. So, we got an 8 gram bag of Boveda thrown into our box of cigars. Now, you can also step it up and use a bunch of these 60 gram bags. Okay, you know, each bag pretty much will humidify, you know, 20 cigars roughly. I usually gauge it by 20. So you can use a bunch of these guys, throw them in there, lay them around, you know, throw a few back there underneath, tuck it in, done. Now you got a two-way humidification device in there. It's going to absorb the excess humidity because it is set at 69 degrees RH, yeah. And then anything beyond that, it absorbs it. If it detects that there's less RH humidity in the air, it'll release it. Does it all by way of vapor. Okay, it is pure water. It is set to a specific RH level. Okay, it's surrounded by a water vapor permeable reverse osmosis membrane. Okay, and because of that, it contains everything that's in there, which is just water and a natural salt solution, and holds it in there, but still allows the vapor to disperse and be absorbed. Okay. Now, that being said, what I do like to do, because we have massive swings in temperature, therefore my fluctuation of humidity is all over the board, the Boveda helps. What I have done and what I do use is a increased percentage of humidification Boveda bag. Okay, this is actually dried out. That's what it looks like. Okay, it's stiff as a board. Now I use a few of these that are completely dry, and I just throw them in there as a buffer. Okay, so I know, and I can feel comfortable knowing that at some point when they reach that saturation level of vapor density in that 70, 72 marker and beyond, I know that I'm going to be okay because that's going to absorb. Okay? That will help absorb any of the excess moisture, so I don't have to worry about, hopefully, God forbid, beetle outburst and mold. So that helps to keep that down. And as well as the temperature, being able to control the temperature at a cooler degree will help decrease your chances of mold. Now, you got all that stuff. That's it, right? Not quite. One more thing. Okay, rather than using a bunch of these guys, rather than using a bunch of them, you know, maybe we'll keep one or two in there. Boveda has one more thing, and that is a giant pillow. This is 320 grams, basically 5 of those 60-gram Boveda packs, built into one. Okay, you can get a hanging system for it. It's got your hanger spots. Stick it onto the side or whatever, you know, just hang it off to the side. Throw it in there like that. That one package is 5 of those. I don't have to worry about it for a long time. It's the exact same device. Works the exact same way. So, that being said, I hope you've had some idea of what to expect, how it works, and possibly some of the preventions you can do, and give you an idea of what you're going to be up against. And like I said, eventually I will put in some wooden racks when I get the time to do that. The wood I have for my project, actually what I'm working on, or will be working on, is I found an old cabinet. It was an old television tube cabinet, and I believe it was back in, I can't remember what the sticker date on it or something said. It was like 19, 1946 or 1952 or something like that. And it was a big, massive two-door cabinet. And it used to house the old, television tubes in it. So I got that, and I basically gutted it and did a inlay, sealed that up, and then I took cedar boards and basically, like you would on a humidor, a little humidor, did a cedar inlay as well, and encased the whole inside in cedar. And from there, I will be building shelves, I will be building my drawers and all that, and eventually put all my cigars in there. It should fit, I think I calculated it out roughly, it'll eventually fit up to somewhere close to 2,000 sticks anyway, including, including boxes and all that stuff. So it should house up to around that. But yeah, when I get that happening or finished off, I'll definitely give you a tour of that. Right now I've just got it off to the side. It's kind of buried, so I can't show you what I've done so far to it. Actually, I do have pictures somewhere. Anyway, so that being said, I hope this has given you some indication and helped you out a lot for anybody that's deciding to start off with humidors or go to a Wineador. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, join the Creed, comment, share, and above all else, have fun. It's kind of addicting. So anyway, I'm just gonna move the camera and show you what I did at the back. Okay, I'm JJ, Cigar Creed. Thanks. Okay, so this is the back of the Wineador. That's that hose I was telling you about. Okay, I've got it stuck onto the drain there. I haven't plugged it, so that comes down and it goes into here. Okay, so this hangs down like that, and that will capture any of the moisture that is released. Now, there's already some water in there, which is cool. And I've got it clipped all the way up here. Just put a little paper clip up there, fasten it to it, and down goes the water. Okay, so then I just hook it back up. The clip, there we go. Okay, done and done. Now, some of you guys, well, I don't want that thing running the whole time. How often does that sucker run? Well, it runs enough to keep it cool, So, if you're too concerned with that, you can hook everything up to a timer. Plug it in, hook it up to a timer. That way you have it running and constantly running for, X amount of hours throughout the day, and then kicks back on and cools everything back down again. So, it shuts off, turns back on at your leisure.